Another month in the green as my investment portfolio of about 60,000 euros grew by another 1,400 euros in just September. And there is one thing that's starting to worry me when it comes to S&P 500. I'll tell you more about it in a few minutes. Hello finance people, my name is Robert and I'm here to share with you my learnings and experience about personal finance as a European. So let's jump into my portfolio tracker and I'll explain the situation. And by the way, if you're interested in this portfolio tracker, you can just download it. It will be the first link in the video description. Okay, so first of all, stocks. You can see I only have 3 stocks left. That's about 8,000 euros that I have invested in it. And this month was, pretty okay, I would say. I have still Nokia, Microsoft, and Amazon and Microsoft are doing quite well. And this month it's about 220 euros just from stocks. Not a big part of my investments, and I sold Tesla stock maybe a month or two ago, but now it's risen again. I didn't lose money on the rise because I sold it quite high, but still I could have bought it more of it when it dropped to I think $200. I should have maybe thought about it at that point, but I missed it. It's no problem. It's just speculation at that point. Next, let's take a look at crypto. And crypto was doing really strong this month. So in September, I had a rise of 9%. That's 840 euros. And you can see that the biggest driver is Bitcoin, just because I have the most value in Bitcoin. So you can see that was almost 700 euros just from Bitcoin this month. And crypto just has had a bit of more life this year. It hasn't exploded like crazy, but it's generating definitely good returns this year. And then if we take a look at my biggest part of my portfolio, that's ETFs, and ETFs were very steady this month. You can see that here I have about 38,000 euros in ETFs, and my biggest stake is in VUSA, which basically tracks the S&P 500 in the US. And you see that it was by about 0.6%. So nothing spectacular this month, but steady upward trend. Although you can see here from this little graph, S&P 500 did drop quite a lot in the beginning of the month, and then it just rose back during the month. Maybe what I should have done here when it dropped by a little bit more, because you get it for cheaper price, but I kind of missed it, so it's not a big deal for me. And in total, that's about 250 euros that ETFs brought me this month. And speaking of ETFs, I've started a newsletter where I share my thoughts about investing in personal finance from a European perspective. For example, a few editions ago, I dove into whether you should invest in euros or dollars when buying US stocks. If you want to receive the weekly newsletter, just sign up. The link will be in the description below. And I mentioned in the beginning that I'm a bit worried about S&P 500 as half of my portfolio is tied to it. And the reason for the worry is the Magnificent Seven. And I know it sounds like some new Justice League superhero thingy, but it just refers to the biggest stocks in S&P 500. That's Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, and Tesla and Meta. Basically, the market cap of these 7 stocks is about quarter of whole S&P 500. This means whatever happens to these companies, S&P 500 follows it. And did you notice anything about these stocks? To me, pretty much all of them are related to tech, one way or the other. The problem is that S&P 500 should be a broad indication of how the US market is doing, but now it's becoming more and more how these 7 perform. The AI hype turns out a bubble and it bursts. Pretty much all of these companies will get hurt, and so will S&P 500. And just look at the returns of the rest 493 stocks earlier this year, just 7%, whereas with the Magnificent Seven, it was 14%. So altogether, 14%. Without the Magnificent Seven, it was only 7%. So they have a huge impact on S&P 500. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know yet how to tackle this. My idea is to start moving away from S&P 500 and maybe invest in a more global fund where the S&P 500 has a smaller weight or exclude it completely. So I need to look into that, think about how I want to approach it and how much risk I want to take with these Magnificent Seven, because at some point they might have bad days and then it's gonna hurt my investments as well. And since I'm trying to be a little bit more passive with my investments, I want to be broad. I'm not looking into next year or two. I actually looking into 10, 20 years. That's when I'm looking only at my results. So it's concerning if S&P 500 is actually not as broad as I think, because then I'm having more risk than I actually would like to have. Now, if we go to the next one, which is peer-to-peer lending, and as usual, that one is very steady. I'm getting just under 1% every month. That's 20 euros or 40 euros in total on about 5,000 euro investment. So it's steady. It just goes there. And again, I mentioned previously, this is more experimental for me. I want to see how well this does, especially if we're gonna have a bit of a downturn in the market. So if we take a look overall, my results in September, you can see that I only had one stock that was in the red. That was Nokia, and it was down by 2%. Everything else was in the green, and that's just a joy to see as an investor. I made about 1,400 euros, plus it was about 2.2% rise. So I'm pretty happy with this month. This is, if every month was like this, I would be ecstatic. But obviously we have ups and downs every month. So that's why we keep track. And what I love about this is I'm keeping it super passive way of investing. So I really look at these once a month when I do these videos. And that way I just don't stress about my investing. Because otherwise, I've noticed when I do try to look at them every day, it creates a little bit of anxiety. And it's like, oh, should I invest there? Should I do that? One stock is down. Oh, I don't know. I just don't want that in my life. I want to have a way to just invest it and that it grows faster than the inflation. And that's pretty much it. Now, I've been investing for the last 7 years or so, and there are a few mistakes that I really wish I hadn't made. Without them, my portfolio would have been probably double the size. That's why I created this video right here, so you can avoid losing time and money by making the same mistakes.